All right, all right, all right. Is this thing on? Yes, it is. All right. We are your political innovators here at Jay in Washington. Thank you, John, our producer of 7th Legion Multimedia. This is Joel Hawksley, David Washington, your host. We are here at Washington Manor South in Central Florida, and we're going to get into a good one. Let's set it up.
Well, you can't make this shit up.
That's right. Did I forget to name the
Yes,
show?
you did.
You can't make this shit up. I had everything all laid out. That's right. You can't make this shit up. The Florida Supreme Court is facing a monumental question about the state's privacy amendment, which was passed by voters in 1980. The amendment guaranteed the right to be, quote, let alone and free from governmental intrusion into his private life, end quote. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, argues that this right to privacy does not include the right to abortion. However, abortion rights advocates argue that the right to privacy does include the right to abortion and that the state's interpretation of the amendment is too narrow. The Florida Supreme Court's decision on this case could have a major impact on abortion access in Florida. Is it too late for David and Joel to file their amicus briefs? Let's go.
There's already 100 amicus briefs up there.
So many.
Everybody wants to be involved in this one. So, David, little history on that. The Supreme Court, which was full of a bunch of old people, and I'm gonna say old people because in state of Florida, we kick your ass off the court if you're over 70 something years old. So
here we go.
I just want to make clear that let's clear that one up. So Ron DeSantis, when he took office, and I remember we just talked about the big hoopla between the governors and now senator, right? It all starts right here because
Yes,
we had Scott going up to the Senate. He wanted to name the 3 justices to replace old, older, and oldest. So he get 3. So he gets 3 Supreme Court justices that he can name. So he names them, and then DeSantis comes in and says, "No, I'm the governor. I'm the one who was elected governor." Right. And that decision, they lose their job on the day I take over. So guess what? I'm going to do it. So that's one of the tensions between them. But that court that was primarily liberal, leaning court, they took up a case where the law was you had to inform your parents that if you wanted abortion. So this young lady goes to a lawyer. The lawyer represents her, and I mean they rushed this case. 17 days basically, but they rushed this case because she argues that her parents were too fragile. So, dad had a heart attack, I believe, and mom had cancer. And her mother had said, if you got pregnant like I did when you're a teen, it would kill me. So, this is where this all starts. I thought that was very interesting because this is where they used the privacy to overturn this this law. So the comments are basically that they weren't justices when they made this decision. They went too far and they legislated by putting by their decision. So they're saying that when they made this decision that abortion was covered under privacy, and they were just trying to get the law out there and legislate. So that's the point that I read twice, and I try to figure out by reading what the Constitution says. It's very vague. So what was yours? What was your? So do I have that right? I think.
For the most part, okay. Yes. I mean, the case was TW, a 15-year-old, like you said, who sought an abortion without parental consent because, like you said, her family, her mother and father were incapacitated to some extent because of health issues, because her mother's concerned that it would, kill her. It would break her heart if she knew that her daughter was pregnant, because she was a teen mom. And that the basis of the ruling, and at the time, there were so many things, but believe this is also based in a case called Griswold. But at the time, this debate about privacy and abortion was raging nationally. It was raging in Florida. It was in newspapers. So the discussion was about, do we as Americans have a right to privacy, to our information? The government
Floridians.
Floridians, thank you. Uh,
Just
the Floridians have a right to privacy from the government, getting to our information, versus do we have a right from government to our privacy to make our own decisions in our private life? And this particular Supreme Court at the time unanimously ruled in favor of abortion being a privacy issue, and that the government should not impinge upon the infringe. Thank you, infringe upon the um, private decisions that Floridians make. Now that is being challenged today in the Florida Supreme Court because of the 15-week abortion ban that was passed several years ago. And this would affect the implementation of a 6-week abortion ban. And my point of view in all this is that it goes way beyond abortion. This is more than just an abortion issue, and my liberal and democratic friends, and even our conservative friends, who are not really aware of this privacy issue involved, they need to take a very close look here, because it goes beyond. In Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has stated during the Dobbs decision that, this does open up scrutiny of interracial marriages, LGBTQ issues, so forth and so on. And so this ruling, which, there's a 5-2 conservative lean for this particular Supreme Court here in Florida. There's the likelihood that this state will rule in favor. They will rule in favor of the ban, which will trigger the 6-week ban, and in my belief, will trigger legislation here in Florida for a complete abortion ban.
oh, that's a lot to take in. So let's see. Let's start with the fact that the privacy, you know, so the U.S. Supreme Court, so the U.S. Supreme Court has, and with the U.S. Constitution, there is truly no clause of privacy. The state of Florida decided, listen, we understand that we want an amendment. We pushed it. They pushed an amendment to the Florida Constitution for privacy, but the vagueness. What is the privacy? Um, is it privacy from, you know, gathering information on you? Is it privacy? Um, I mean, you already have privacy with your medical records; they're sealed. So, I mean, that's the government doesn't have anything to do with that. So, I don't know. I just think that this is. I agree with them that I think they legislated this decision, but it's a state decision, and the state, you have to acknowledge that the state constitution is important. So I think, well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be overturned. So they're going to say that the court overreached in the past, and they'll let this go. So, but I don't see anybody looking for, and I do see a small minority of people in my party wanting a total ban, but you know, it's it, it's not there. I don't think it's there in the public opinion. A lot of voters, I don't think it's there. 6 weeks is, everybody knows. I'm okay with the 15 week. I'm not okay with the 6 week because I think you should at least know you're pregnant before you have to you know before you have to do anything. But
Mhm.
that's just me. I mean, I have a lot of friends in the Republican Party agree with that, especially when you don't put a stipulation in there for rape and incest. I mean, criminal acts, are criminal acts. They'll say that. You know, I've read the Bible, and these religious zealots that reside in the Republican Party, um, they're not reading the Bible. I think they're picking and choosing what they want out of the Bible. Um, so of course it looks like, oh, we got to do everything. It's like everything to, God doesn't make mistakes and all this other stuff. Well, I'm sorry, I've seen a giraffe.
Well, just for some context, I mentioned the Griswold case is Griswold versus Connecticut, ruling by U.S. Supreme Court. But in Griswold versus Connecticut, it established a privacy right for married people to use contraception. The right the edifice that would support rights to mixed race and same sex marriages, same sex relationships in general. And this was the basis in 1973 of Roe v. Wade, abortion depending on the stage of pregnancy. So that I just wanted to give a little context when I mentioned the Griswold case. Next, in regards to the ban and eventually a full ban on abortion here in Florida, if I remember correctly, and I believe we discussed this in a previous podcast episode about abortion here in Florida, the amendment that is the petitions that are circulating right now to put access to abortion on the ballot in November of 2024. There are organizations, prominent organizations, like if I remember correctly, and please, comment, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to do my own damn research, but I believe it's the Susan B. Anthony Foundation or organization that is very prominent in conservative circles that is seeking commitments from Republican nominees, contenders for the GOP presidential nominee, for support of a full ban. I may be wrong in regards to DeSantis singling his support for something like that. Again, do your own damn research. I will do mine again. And again, the repercussions further, as stated in Griswold versus Connecticut, um, and also Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, saying, "Hey, this does open, the ruling on Dobbs, the this particular ruling out of Florida that may occur will open up those other issues for debate."
Well, I think all the issues are now open to debate because we're actually giving the state the authority to do their own legislation on issues that aren't covered in the U.S. Constitution. So I I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. Um, I just what I know is it looks very easily like it's going to be overturned because the five justices that are there, um, and the one that was Charlie Crist's is anti-abortion. So that, I mean, you get six. You probably get six votes against.
I believe that I think that the privacy issue is going to be of course, in the forefront of the arguments in front of the Florida Supreme Court. And I'll be looking very closely as to the decision leaning towards privacy towards information versus privacy towards our decision making. And again, I believe, I think, I know that we as Americans have steadily given away our freedoms, Patriot Act 1, Patriot Act 2, so forth and so on. And we are steadily chipping away at those freedoms. And again, the decision against privacy for personal decision making would be detrimental to our overall freedoms.
Well, I look at it. Look at it slightly different. I kind of look at what is privacy. I mean, do you really have privacy? We had a conversation a little earlier. I prompted about rental cars and stuff like that. There's a lot that we think is private that isn't private, and that we think that we're safe. And even with this privacy in our Constitution, the government has the right to protect us. Certainly, they send social services into places, and they they're not they get right into your business. So and it's to be expected, right? To protect children and to protect families. So it's a this is a tightrope, David. Um, I just I don't see it as I don't see it as detrimental as you do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when you give somebody an inch, they can take a mile. So
Indeed.
um, let's pray. Let's pray that this will be common sense, which isn't very common anymore. But let's follow this one through and see how it goes.
The article that we're referencing in this particular episode, I believe, is the Florida Phoenix Sun, and it's a two-part, I believe, a two-part series that I will recommend everyone to read, and particularly if, fans of Justice Anton Scalia in his originalism. They do speak of his originalism, theory in this particular piece. So please check it out. The name of the article is "A Monumental Abortion Question for Florida Supreme Court: How did voters in 1980 define privacy?" And it's the Florida Phoenix News that has started this particular series, and it's a very good discussion and very timely discussion.
Well, thank you for making me.
The good stuff.
So no,
the
thank you
controversial
for
stuff.
this conversation. Please like, please comment, please keep us informed. Subscribe. It's really a great opportunity to have seen you today, talk to you today.
And this is, you can't make this shit up. See, I remember.
Hold on. Say that again.
You can't make this shit up.
You can't.
Just can't. Thank you. Like, share, comment.